Hi guys, it's Anthony from Grandstand Sports Clinic. Today's topic is all about nutrition, and we're really lucky to be joined by Rachel Svenson, who's a consulting sports dietitian and nutritionist. Hi Rach, thanks so much for joining us today. Now you've obviously had a lot of experience dealing with athletes in a variety of different environments, so from the NRL, Super 12 Rugby and High Performance New Zealand. Can you tell us a little bit about your experiences dealing with athletes with nutritional issues? Sure.
Thanks Anthony for having me. I've had about 12-15 years of experience with sports nutrition, and that's from young athletes right through development stages through to professional athletes. So there's a big range of experiences I've had in both male and female sports, and a variety of sports. So individuals doing individual triathlon, multi-sport events, athletics, through to team sports, through soccer, and NRL. Rugby has been a big part of my sports nutrition practice as well.
So with all the different types of athletes that you've worked with, who would you think would be the most challenging athletes to work with, without dobbing anyone in?
Okay, no names. The challenging ones are probably the athletes who don't have a lot of nutrition knowledge behind them and who have been probably progressed through their sport quite quickly, and those are the ones who just haven't got nutrition fully grasped, and often they're the ones who are going off to other people to seek nutrition advice. They can be the challenging ones. It's the other ones are also the guys or players, athletes, whoever you're talking to, who just need to change body composition for whatever sport or whatever they're doing, whether that's trying to get their skin folds or their lean mass high, body fat mass low, and that can be challenging for some who still aren't good on nutrition, yet still want to achieve those results.
Do you find that's a real issue with nutrition, that people are sourcing their information from unreliable sources, so what they're seeing on Instagram or things like that? Is that something that has worked its way into sport?
I think it's always been there, but it's certainly more with social media now. It's certainly an outlet for people to go and look at and get advice, and mates are a great one for advice, but mates really don't know what they're talking about, and you really want somebody who's got some good knowledge behind them and who can actually point you in the right direction. Everyone eats, so everyone's an expert. That's what we come across.
So, Rach, as physiotherapists, we tend to see people pretty soon after they've injured themselves, whether there be a muscle strain or a ligament tear or something like that. Now, as well as doing the physio stuff that we manage, are there any sort of nutritional strategies specifically for soft tissue injuries that clients could be looking at doing? Sure,
and I think this is an area that's growing quite rapidly in nutrition at the moment. There's a lot of information out there for people to have a look at, but certainly inflammation is one of the key ones that we're trying to settle down as quickly as we can. And although the body has its natural inflammation process that it has to go through, usually within about 5 to 7 days after an injury is a really good time to start targeting the food. And there are some really good, really sound practices and research out there which tells us that by modifying your diet you can improve your reduce your inflammation quite quickly.
I think that's a really important point, because we have obviously quite a few of our patients who are in that inflammatory sort of cycle, and understandably some people are resistant to go onto the heavy pharmaceutical anti-inflammatories. So there are alternatives which work.
Absolutely. So fish oils is a really common one that we all know about, and other anti-inflammatory foods. So have you got avocado in your diet? Have you got some good nuts in your diet, and using seeds, things like that? Looking at berries and pineapple, and is another good anti-inflammatory things.
And there's obviously been some talk in the industry about turmeric.
Oh yeah, that's a big one now.
Tell me about the turmeric.
No, it's a very good product. There's some really good evidence around it. So turmeric itself has a small amount of an active ingredient called curcumin, and so it's actually the curcumin, the ingredient you're looking for. So if you want to use your off-the-shelf turmeric, you'll have to use probably 4 or 5 tablespoons of it every day to get the benefit, and to maximise that again you need to add black pepper to it. The curcumin that you want to use off the shelf in a supplement form needs to be in the activated form. So you need to be looking for something that has a high percentage of curcumin content in it rather than turmeric. And the curcumin content also needs to be bioactivated. So those are the sort of things you're looking for in a product.
So, Rach, what about the other side of the coin? Are there foods that we should be avoiding when we are in an inflammatory status to prevent inflammation from happening?
There are foods that we classify as pro-inflammatories, and those are the ones that we want to avoid. The main ones are processed foods that are high in fat, so commercially prepared cakes and biscuits and crackers that have a high fat content in them, takeaway foods, those particularly. And if you're using canola oils, sunflower oils, soybean oils in your cupboard, we'd look at reducing those.
So, Rach, what about the athletes who have got a high training load and are wary about having an injury? Are there preventative strategies that again, athletes can look at to try to avoid an injury from taking place?
Yeah, so those sort of soft tissue injuries, ligaments, tendons and cartilage, there's been a lot more research just in the last even couple of years about the use of collagen as a preventative. So using collagen in the form of gelatin and using those on a daily basis. The quantities are only like 10-15 grams, and you take that dose before a training session where it has maximum benefit for those soft tissues.
And what does that do? Does that...
Yeah, so what it's working on is getting those essential amino acids that build collagen into the bloodstream so that when those soft tissues are being stressed, as you would in training, then the collagen is available for immediate repair after that training session, if that makes sense. Yeah. So that's certainly proven now, and a really interesting area to move into.
So, Rach, aside from the soft tissue injuries we've spoken about, obviously the big baddie for a lot of athletes is the stress fractures because it interrupts their training for so long. In terms of nutritional strategies, what sort of things would a sports nutritionist advise for someone to prevent a stress fracture, but also in the treatment of stress fractures?
Certainly having an assessment done by a sports nutrition is actually highly valuable. A sports dietitian can help you look at those criteria about body weight and looking at those body weight changes that often athletes go through, looking at how to manage macronutrient intake, so looking at your big carbohydrate, protein, fat nutrients, and then looking at your micronutrient intake, so looking at vitamin D and calcium intake specifically, so getting a gauge of are you meeting your requirements for those nutrients. In some instances it might be necessary to go away and have your vitamin D level tested because you may actually be running around with a low vitamin D level without even knowing that you have it. So looking at preventative ways would just be making sure that you've got adequate nutrients of calcium and vitamin D in your diet.
Now, with any athlete who sustains a significant injury, they obviously look at changing the amount of activity they're doing, usually because the physio has, if not prescribed rest, at least prescribed protective rest for someone. So that'll change their energy output quite significantly. Do you find athletes struggle with that from the point of view?
Absolutely, and injuries can be quite a scary time for athletes as well because there's the fear of gaining too much fat mass or losing lean muscle mass. It doesn't take too much manipulation around, of the diet to achieve your goals. We know that actually during an injury your calorie intake actually might need to be higher than what you anticipate because the injury itself requires a lot of calories to repair and recover, and so that can be quite challenging as well. Really important to look at maybe some of your big macronutrients, your carb intake, maybe adjusting that down at different times of the day, looking at really good quality protein hits throughout the day, so small quantities of protein, looking at your fat intake, good quality fats with those those anti-inflammatory fats, and then looking at some of your micronutrient intake, which we've discussed just around your antioxidants and your anti-inflammatory foods.
And with athletes, I'm assuming there's a huge individual difference, but if an athlete is removed from their training environment, do you tend to find that do you struggle more with people overeating as a result of not training, or do they actually go the other way and not eat enough because they're completely out of their normal schedule?
probably what you find is people, because they're away, it becomes a comfort thing. So maybe comfort eating on poor quality foods. So you can direct an athlete and go, you know what, this is actually a really good time to review your diet and look at it, and maybe increase the volume of food that you're actually eating, but choose better sources. So maybe they're just looking at how to increase those small hits of protein, the extra vitamins from fruits and vegetables that they haven't really considered before. So there is scope to encourage that or allow that to happen, but still within the realms of good nutrition, keeping you well nourished, keeping you well, without impacting on body weight too much.
So we can certainly use injury layoffs like we do as physios to work on people's weaknesses, but we can actually also use it as an opportunity to make lifelong changes to an athlete's nutrition to make them a better athlete for when they return from their injury.
As long as they get their head around it. So usually through an injury, it's the first either week or two that's a bit sluggish for them, but then once you get into it and review diet, it's a really exciting time for them to maybe make those changes if they're ready for it. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, well, thank you so much for your time here today, Rachel. Remember, Rachel is consulting at Grandstand Sports Injuries Clinic. We'll put up some details if you want to contact Rachel directly, but certainly any of the athletes out there who want to know more about nutrition, Rachel's a fantastic resource, and I can only encourage you, and thank you so much again for your time today.
Pleasure. Thanks.